you are an advocate of girls and women's sports. Okay, so I want you to tell us a little bit about that.
But the reason as to why I started the advocacy for African women in sports, that was because for many a times I was the only woman, one, or the only African woman
Mm,
in a lot of spaces. And so for me, uh, you come and realize that there were spaces where you carry the entire continent with you and you carry the entire womanhood with you. And so my reaction and my decision making in very many spaces was carrying the entire continent and the women of Africa with me. So my representation meant that I was representing the African women and the continent itself. And with that, I realized that the reason is to, okay, when it comes to African sports, it's still not taken as seriously as we would want it
yeah,
to, even in terms of investment, in terms of viewership, in terms of convincing people why they need to watch this sport or
yeah.
why they need to have women teams. Even convincing the countries alone to just invest in women teams is a whole battle on its own.
Mm,
But you see, that came because we are still a minority, and we still have cultural and traditions that we have to find a way to balance in this career of sports, because still it's very male dominated. But when I was going through the business of football, the business of sports, and discovering all these new careers that were involved in it, I realized that we can't, why are we limiting ourselves to just the game? Everyone you talk to says, I want to be a footballer. But what about those ones who, like, I like their football, but I really don't want to play football?
okay.
What can we open for them to actually see this value in this, in something else? I, part of my education very many years ago when I was still discovering myself, journalism and media studies was part of the credentials I got
Okay.
in uni. And that came forward when you discover sports journalism and you discover reporting and you discover and you realize, wait, you don't actually just have to be a traditional reporter, you can actually be a sports reporter. When people are studying IT, information technology, tailor make it into sports. That's a whole new career line completely.
Mm,
Law is a whole new career line. Sports medicine, which is something that Africa is craving so much. And that literally took a whole argument almost to almost midnight in a class, because I was arguing with a lecturer to a point he said, call me tomorrow. But that was because I wanted to understand, like when you ask someone who runs an entire department of anti-doping and he says he runs it like in Kenya or in Nigeria, or there are three or four in Africa, and they're giving you points and you're asking them, okay, then for athletes to be able to always be not or not take any drugs that are on the ban list?
yeah,
Do you have doctors they can go to who understand this 80 something documents and know that if I go there to a doctor and I say, hey, I'm an athlete, they already know the medicines they cannot take and those ones that they can take? Do we have a database like that? And they said no. And I was furious. And I'm like, so normal general practitioners cannot treat athletes for the right purpose drugs
yeah,
in order for them to not be banned if they are drug tested.
yeah.
So who can we go to? And then you realize someone telling you, oh, Kenya only has one doctor. And you're like, one? The whole country? Where the rest?
Okay.
As in, is you know? And I'm like, okay,
What
that's a
what
few.
if that doctor dies?
Thank you. We have no one. So we go to South Africa, or do we go to the US who are doing these studies? What if this guy decides he's moving to Europe for the rest of his life? What happens? Like we have no one.
Yeah.
And you all certified one guy. Like, does he have a team that he's mentoring? And so you realize that we have so many gaps in the professional sector that can easily be filled by women, whereby we are not infringing on the playing of sports that men feel like it's their domination, but we can cover all these other spaces as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the people who play, but we also have people in the professional sector.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we are able to change the narrative.
Mm. Mm.
We are able to actually push for legislation that is able to work for us.
Mm.
We need to get into those spaces, but we have to get into those spaces through education.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm so passionate in getting as many women on board as possible.
Very good. Very good. See, my sister, I would say, again, I will go back to my credentials as a sports player, in my days. See, I played pickup basketball for years, including with national team players, Nigerian national team players. Okay, in the 80s, 90s mostly, and a few of them in the 21st century. Okay, so I know a lot of them personally. Now, in pickup basketball, or especially on Saturdays when we played in Lagos, in Ikeja cantonment in Lagos, see, a lot of ladies come to play with us. Okay, the place is packed, always packed. You know, only if your team wins that you continue playing. So sometimes you play the first set, and that's the only set you get to play because of the large crowd. You know, so yeah, I play with so many very good women, but in reality, women and men in sports play differently.
Yes, we do.
Play differently. See, and I've seen this argument that men and women should be played equally. Oh, hold on. Played equally. And I've seen it mostly in Europe and in America, claiming that the women should be played equally with the men, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, when it comes to national team, okay, because it's not based on revenue, it's based on national pride. Okay.
Yeah.
So they can be paid equally. Okay. But when it comes to business, the payment is based on the revenue of the business.
Yes, it's still a business at the end of the day.
Good. Now, I will tell you, I have 3 daughters. 3 daughters. My second daughter, she's going to be 17 in 2 months. She started playing basketball. I was so excited. I used to go to our school games, you know, not games, training. Okay, I go stay up there, watch her play, all that. But suddenly, just before, by the time COVID started, she stopped playing. I tried to encourage her, just let's go to the park, and she wasn't interested. And now she doesn't play. I mean, she's not even interested in it at all. Even though I tried, to convince her to do, she doesn't want to. You see, interestingly, women are not as excited to play or watch sports like men. You see, yeah, that no, they don't see from my own experience. Women are not as excited to play sports. See, when I was young man, I go to Nigerian National Stadium to watch a basketball game. I've gone to Nigeria and Egypt. I've gone to Nigeria, and I can see on the court, I run around with my shirt off, waving it to the crowd around yeah, I used to do that. That was how excited I was.
What the game?
Right? So see, when I say women are not as excited, I used to go with my girlfriend. She will be laughing at me. See, women are not as excited to play or to watch sports. I sit down here watching games. My daughters don't even come out from the room.
But you see, that's because of we've been conditioned for a very long time.
Oh no! So I disagree.
No. Come back home. Come back home, and you will hear the same thing. See, that sports was for boys, and girls, you get to do something else. You see, when we talk about we are breaking barriers.
Let me just finish this. See, I grew up in a house. I was the only boy. Okay, my sisters, my cousins, we lived together. My parents never tell any of us to do this or that. My parents, apart from playing as a goalkeeper as a young boy, my parents never told me to play this sports or that. Never. I got into it myself. I got into them because several myself. My sisters were never interested. To today, my sister, oh, football, okay, Nigeria is playing, oh, okay, oh, I'll do this, oh. See, okay, my point is this. See, I want, men are very competitive. Women are competitive in different ways.
That's true.
Now, what if
we are more calculative?
Huh?
We are more calculative.
Yes, I agree. Yes. I agree. Now, let's take it. What if women come up with the things they are excited about and start building it into their own sports? See, the thing is that somehow in the world, we think both sexes should do the same things. What if women come up with those things that women love to do and turn it into their own sports? And then millions of women will now watch them doing those things on TV and get paid for doing those things. Why must women do exactly what men do?
Because society has created this platform that it has to be as so. You understand? We are still not the ones who are controlling.
Oh no, come on, sister.
No.
My sister, I don't subscribe to that at all.
General. It's not a general thing.
I see. Okay, I worked in a bank in Nigeria where there were more women at senior levels than men. Okay. Yeah. See, I had 3 bosses, 4 direct bosses, okay, in my time in there. 2 of them were women, okay. The second level bosses, 2 of them were women. So, see, I personally, I don't subscribe to this thing that things are controlled by men. My mother, hold on. My mother retired as a head teacher. She was in our school. She was the boss for almost 10 years. My father, who worked in the National Petroleum Corporation, his bosses, 2 of them were women. So, see, for me, this thing about women don't have control. I ask myself, do they actually want those things? I just use myself, my children, my sisters as example. Okay, women want different things, and they focus on those things. See, I want them to succeed, but see, if we continue pushing them in a particular direction,
they don't want to, they won't succeed because they will
exactly.
be. It's that thing of doing a degree and then finally handing it to your parents and go like,
Okay.
that was your degree. Now I need to go and do what I want.
So see, you are talking to you. You are passionate at what you do, and that's why you're good at it. You love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I still had to convince my family as to why I was going into sports.
Okay.
It took about 5 years. It took about 5 years. Oh, and a nomination for an award. Before, everyone was like, oh, so that's a serious thing. For a while, it was, are you still going to go get a job?
So see, these things we need to think about, talk about, and be very open. See,
Yeah.
Freedom, again, I mentioned freedom to do what you love.
You want, yeah, what you want to do.
Yeah. See, this is something we need to imbibe in our society to allow, hey, what do you want? Okay. As long as what you want doesn't impede someone else, go ahead. So yeah. Anyway, this discussion has been wonderful.